Warning, this podcast is not for the faint of heart.
We keep it real and raw.
And talk about issues that other podcasts wouldn't dare. This is the Truth of the Matter podcast with Dr. Spencer. Step into our world. What do you do if you fall in love with one of your kids' friends who's over 18? How do you handle getting caught in bed with your boss? Why do girls like bad boys? Are you burned out from an unbalanced career and personal life? Are you still working while your kids are telling you how their days went? Our passion is to help people in relationships, anyone you have a connection with in life, neighbors, coworkers, family, spouse, kids, yourself, and helping you achieve the work-life balance. Let's have some fun and let's get educated. This is the Truth of the Matter podcast. And now your host, Dr. Renee Spencer.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Renee Spencer, and welcome to the Truth of the Matter podcast. Absolutely. So, today we are going to have a pretty interesting topic, but before I tell you what it is, I want to let everyone know that we talk about all things relationship. So, relationship and work-life balance, I need to add. But every type of relationship is not for everyone. It's not a cookie-cutter relationship. And there's times where certain relationship is not conventional for everyone. And that's okay because we're all different. And what makes one person happy, maybe the other person will not be, and vice versa. But there's so many different types of relationships out there. So today we're going to talk about, okay, you know what? My husband and my boyfriend is being released from prison. Now what? Now, again, you might be in a relationship where your partner, your husband, boyfriend, or whomever have been locked up. I mean, it happens, right? Again, it's not for everybody. So we're going to talk about these things because, again, hey, it's important. And I want you to be prepared. So let me just give you a little backstory about me. I never actually dated anyone in prison or jail. But I do have family that have been incarcerated. And I just remember that when my cousin came home, he said, hey, I got a surprise for you. I didn't know what the surprise was. I didn't even know he was being released. But anyway, he was. And the surprise was when I came out of Bible study, he was sitting in my living room. And I have to say that it was definitely a change for both he and I. And I'm going to get into that a little, in a little later in a few minutes. But when I say change, meaning like he would turn the heat down. It was the middle of November in New Jersey. He would turn the heat down to 60. So, of course, the heat on 60 is really no heat. Because like he said, he had been used to, it being cold. He would leave the door open, and like he explained later on, like, hey, we have doors where we have to lock and unlock and things like that. And, it was a few other things, like we exercise together, and he'd say, we're going to go and jog. Well, jogging was we had on some boots. But that's what he was used to. And, it's not like he was in there for a long time. It's not like he was in there for some heinous crime or anything like that. But I'm just kind of giving you some examples of some of the things that I experienced. And, so maybe you have or not. But I was not prepared. And again, I've had clients who have dated and been in relationships and married people who have been incarcerated. And like they said, they weren't really prepared and knew what to expect when their loved one came home. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get some research, get backstory. I spoke to them, I coached them, and even based on my experience. So I kind of put together a blurb, and we're going to talk about these things. So we know that prison is a whole world of itself. And I know sometimes people like to say, oh no, when you're in jail, you get all the latest technology. You hear what's going on in the street. I mean, you keep up what's going on. And the fact of the matter is not really. I mean, technology changes. Like I said, your day to day things change, even as far as your sleep patterns or lack thereof. Everything is different. And so when they come home, we think they're going to be the same person as when they went in, and that's not true. So again, it's a whole different world. And living amongst convicts and following a disciplined but horrifying experience or routine, having no freedom of where to go or what to eat, prison changes people completely. And I know the first few months, it seems like they kind of rebel, especially because of the culture that they have used to. They may not talk to people, but really it's about them adjusting to life on the inside, but more importantly, adjusting or readjusting to life on the outside. So imagine being in prison or jail, whichever one, with hundreds or thousands of criminals and no outside interaction or little or controlled interaction. Even the smallest thing can seem like an insane situation. Or even what about being confined to a space or a small space with aggressive people everywhere? So there's no reason or logic. It's just really the force of power. Again, my cousin, he was so fine sleeping in my little box-sized bedroom. He was completely fine with that. And to him, it was like large. Again, it doesn't matter how long or short the time period you have, been locked up, but it's a matter of adjusting to another or new environment. So, what to expect when they come home, right? So no matter how long, like I said, or short, your husband, your boo, whomever have been in prison or jail, there is certainly going to be some personality changes that's going to come with you, and then also at home. And try to understand that. And I'm going to tell you, research shows that an average person spends at least 3 to 4 years in prison. That time is enough to change how they think and how they behave. And that, just like I went back and said how different things was even for my cousin. Technology. We went to the movies and I'm thinking, oh, it's no big deal. When we went in, they had these lazy boy type of chairs. He was rocking back and forth like he was in a rocking chair. And like he said, before I went in, they didn't have these types of chairs, and it had the massage and the heat in there. He was like, that was new to him. So he wanted to always go to the movies. And it was kind of cool because then I had a little movie partner with me. But again, the relationship's going to change. Our relationship changed. And surely if you've been in an intimate relationship, your relationship is going to change. But you can't expect them to be the same person who married you years ago. And sure, the love is still there, but it doesn't guarantee that everything else will be the same. Now, let me just throw in this little caveat for you. Again, it's not saying they're not going to love you. It's just going to say it's going to be different. They may even love you even more because you were the ride or die. But it's little things going to change, and give them that opportunity to, kind of get acclimated to the newer relationship. So, it is the hardest time, especially when they first come home, to adjusting to life after prison. And that means the routine, the sleepless nights, the overwhelming family and friends, health changes. You know how family is. They always want to come over, see what's going on, talk about old times, think about the future. But make sure that you're there and you hang in there and you support them and you give them the space that they need to adjust and enjoy their new space and new life. And so when they come home, they may try to assert their little authority over you by being unreasonably demanding. They may want to move things around, take more of the closet space, or even ask for meals at unrelated times. And you know what? Let them do it. Give them the freedom to make their own space and their own decision. And what can you do is really just let them eat. You may need to cook a meal at 2, 3 in the morning. It's fine. but it will help them around the kitchen in their new environment. Ask them for their opinion. Make them feel special and wanted. They haven't felt like that in years. And I know sometimes, especially we women, be like, look, he needs to be making me feel special. I'm the one who was riding. I'm the one accepting the phone calls. I'm the one who's visiting. I'm the one who had to get up early. I'm the one who had to spend the money for his commissary, the this, that, and the other. Gotta understand. Trust me, their life on the inside is completely different than our life on the outside. And guess what? One thing's for sure is you guys stood the test of time. So again, give them that little bit and that little authority, because guess what? When they were behind that wall, they did not have that at all. They had someone else telling them what to do, so the other person was in the authority. We're talking about them CEOs. We know how that can be. And so they're in a tough spot right now. And it's a tough spot for both of you. And when your husband is released from jail, I'm going to give you some things that really you should try to at least understand that's going to be easier for them, but better for you. And so one of the more important things is when they're released, they open that gate, they come out, you guys hug and, all this other stuff. Make sure you understand the terms and conditions of their parole and or probation. So the first thing is understand, like I said, when they're going to be released exactly, and also their what they have to comply with. Like there's certain conditions, like I said, and that includes managing time frames, drug tests, geographical limits, going to therapy, mandatory job searches, etc. And that may ruin your late night plans or going on vacations for a while, but it is something that's important, and they have to comply with these conditions. You don't want them to get locked up and have to do the rest of that time. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it 100. But alongside that, once all the lovey-dovey and all that, you all happy, you have to understand it's going to be a little financial burden on you. Or I'm going to say financial situation. It's obvious. When they come home, it's not like they're going to have a job unless maybe they were in a work release program when they're in the halfway house. But they're not going to have like a job most likely. And that is important, right? So job hunting does take a few weeks, sometimes a few months, or even, your financial situation will take a hit. Just try to understand and make sure that you start saving for those rainy days early on. It's very important because it's almost like, I'm not going to say another kid, but another body. Now, of course, like some of you may say, hey, I've been doing all of this when he was locked up. I've been holding him down. But it's a different type of situation when he's actually home. We're not talking about sending him a couple of dollars, here and there, or, more than, whenever they ask for. We're talking about now it's going to be like every day, all day. Now, again, there's always outliers. Some people come home and they already have a job. They already have something lined up. But we're just talking about the what ifs and to help prepare you for these types of situations. You have to prepare for the future. Again, the relationship is going to change. And if you're lucky, guess what? There hardly will be any changes. It's going to take a turn for the better. And that's great. But just like you need to kind of adjust. They're going to have to adjust as well. Have those conversations, but be mindful, kind of be gentle with them. Don't hit them with a whole laundry list of things, but have the conversation about your relationship. You may even have to plan the future too. So what life really is going to be for like you, your children, if you have any, your house environment, all of those things may change. Again, it's almost like you're dealing with a new person, not so much, but you understand the circumstances are different. So you need to have these important conversations. And really, it's important that your spouse starts socializing outside of the world. to help them adjust. However, make sure that you give them time. Let them make the decisions when they feel comfortable, because they may not want to be inundated with a whole bunch of companies, especially at first. They may want time, have time to spend with the two of you, or even your kids or whomever, maybe immediate family. Let them tell you how they will feel comfortable. And really, since a good amount of time may have passed, start having maybe some friends over. Do it slowly. But again, initially, large gatherings may be overwhelming, and you don't want to trigger like anxiety, or anything else. So just kind of talk it out first. It is very important. Ask them, how do you feel? Some people come home and they want a big welcome home party. Some other people may feel like they want something a little laid back. Again, have these important conversations. But I'm sure some of you may have had these conversations along the line, as they were incarcerated, when they had a release date. You probably had these conversations. But if you have not, this would be an optimal time to do it. You got to understand too, again, this is going to be a change for the both of you. And it's really, you really have to understand that since this is a change, that guess what? They've been through a lot. They've been through hell and high water. So I'm going to tell you, like I always tell others, I said, look, it's almost like going through, I'm not going to say the dying process, because it's not like that. But they're going to go through like a series of emotions, right? And they may happen even at stages. Like, for instance, they may go through that whole denial. And this is always the first stage where inmates are not really sure that they were really in prison, or they may be coming home. And this stage may actually take up to 12 months, if not longer. They may be a little angry because they realize that they can't, really help their situation. The situation may be longer, and they may lash out, and they may be angry, all of those things. They may even, while they're in there, they may even harass weaker inmates, especially being aggressive. So again, when they're incarcerated, they go through many different types of emotions, and that's what we're talking about now, all these emotions. So we're going to kind of take a step back of when they were in there, what some of the things they were going through, like bargaining, right? So when they bargain, they're like pondering, like, how did this happen? Think of all the reasons, like, they were in an abusive household, or they were sexually harassed as a teenager, etc. They're coming up saying, well, why did this happen to me? And they may go through despair. And that, especially when you're pondering, you tend to think a lot, and the feeling hits them like a truck. So they start secluding themselves, everything. And then they may start accepting it. Like, look, I'm going to be going home one day, or I may not, or whatever the case may be. So now, I got to start holding things down. I just got to accept the fact that this is the situation. And I'm going to tell you again, when it comes to these types of prison relationships, they go through changes. And so again, when you start hearing the good news, your partner is coming home again, like I said earlier, you have to prepare for it, because it is great news. It's like, hey, they're coming home, but they're going to go through emotions again. They're going to be excited, nervous, anxiety, all of those things. But your relationship will go through some tough times, without a doubt. The best way to cope with that is just to have, again, these face-to-face conversations. Discuss the relationship and how dynamic it is. And, really have to think about it. Your spouse spent some hard time in prison, and they may have been terrified also. Both of you will have to adjust. It is not something that really is just a one-way situation. This is it's definitely two ways. And I'm going to tell you, as like even my cousin, he said, you know what, as a inmate, adjusting to life out of jail is nothing less than a roller coaster ride. It is. I mean, I mean, without a doubt, it was. It was for him and for me. We were going through what they call ebbs and flows. We're up, we're down. I mean, you would have thought we were a couple. We was arguing, we was doing all kinds of things. I'm like, why are you leaving my door open like that? You know? And I mean, we had to go through some growing pains. We really did. And really, I have to say, he put me in a financial crutch on times. I was emotional. I had to change my routines. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't have a phone at home. I mean, a house phone. Now I got to get a house phone just in case your parole officer called. Like, we need to have a phone. If the lights go out, anything. I couldn't have like those bagels, the anything bagels, because they have poppy seeds in them. They had to know exactly where his room was going to be. So I had to go through changes too. But I have to say, with all of this, guess what it boils down to? Common denominator, which is communication, like I've said on a few times today. I said you have to talk to your partner. You got to talk to your spouse about everything. Tell them what you're feeling. Tell them how you like certain things. Tell them how the relationship may change. But again, like I said, be mindful. Don't overwhelm them, but make them feel included. Make them feel like they have never left, although they know they have. It's okay. Let them know that, you know what, babe, while you were in, I had some tough times. And I want you to understand that I was still holding you down. But at the same time, I needed a shoulder to cry on too. You did the best you could for the circumstance and, for the situation. But, I needed someone to hold it down as well. But also, now he's home again. It's time you got a little routine. Because again, you're switching from one routine to the next. So he's gone from the prison routine. Now it's about incorporating them into the family routine. So some things you may want to ask, like, okay, what time do you wake up? What are your meals like? Or I know sometimes they may not want to talk about these things, but it's important for you to understand too, because if they get up 4 or 5 in the morning, guess what? You may still be sleeping, so you need to understand that too, or at least have an idea. Helping them look for jobs. We know when they come home, chances are they may not have license or things like that. But guess what? Now that may impede upon your daily schedule. So maybe helping them look for jobs, or maybe asking someone else to come and help them look for jobs. Or, change the time frame in which they look for jobs. Everything now is on the computer. So maybe you can fill out an application on the computer. Who knows? A lot of things now are virtual. But they will, in fact, adapt to new hobbies, like all these things, cooking, going to the gym, reading, and things like that. But I'm going to tell you another thing is, too, which is so important, is no negative influences. Wherever he left, let it stay in the past. And when I say that, it meaning like when you're coming home, you need to change people, places, and things sometimes. You really do. If you was hanging with Nook, who was getting him in trouble and things like that, it's best not to even hang around these same type of influences. Because again, you don't want them to affect your new life. So be mindful. You never ever want a reason to go back to prison. And without a doubt, I always say therapy is great and so is coaching. Like I said, I've helped many people go through this same thing successfully. It is not a 1-2 situation where it's going to change in like a week or two. It'll take a while, but it will happen as long as the two of you want it to happen. It is okay, because again, it's like having a new relationship. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed this and took the time to listen. If you have any questions about it or concerns, you just want to talk about it, I'm always here. drlamarrspencer at gmail.com or old school at 973-214-6464. You can find me on all my socials. And again, adjusting to life after prison is difficult for the inmates and their family as a whole. But you guys are still sticking in there and make the relationship enjoyable. Go start doing things that maybe you hadn't done before. It is okay. It is okay to sometimes laugh, cry, curse, pray, whatever you need to do. But the two of you have withstood the test of time. So hang in there. And again, I enjoy you guys. Again, reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, or you need help in this area. And without further ado, take care and enjoy.
You've been listening to The Truth of the Matter with Dr. Spencer. Yes, we talk about taboo topics, but that's life, and we keep it real and raw. Our passion is to educate and enlighten. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review the show. And we'll be back soon. But if you have a unique relationship situation and you'd like help, or you're tired of having to choose between your career and personal life, Dr. Lamarr Renee Spencer is a life alignment strategist and a certified life, relationship, and business coach. So make sure to reach out on Instagram and TikTok at Dr. Lamarr Spencer, on Twitter at Dr. Spencer 15, on Facebook at Dr. Lamarr Renee Spencer, and the website drlamarrspencer.com. Or go old school and call 973-214-6464.
Don't forget to purchase the book, The Depth and Diversity with Relationships. Find it on Amazon and the website.
See you next time on The Truth of the Matter.